Hey guys, Chris King here. I am with one of our newest therapists on the team at Chris King Counseling, Krystal Crockett. And you guys might know Krystal from other places in public life.
Mhm.
She is in Bixby and in South Tulsa and in Oklahoma. She's maybe kind of famous, maybe infamous, might be a
There we go.
more than famous. Um, anyway, and I'm sitting outside here at my house, and if we hear barking, it's because Hank sees squirrels, and that's his tail. Just thought we anyway. Um, thank you for joining me, Krystal.
Mhm. Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So we've been doing a few of these. You are helping us get established at a new office in downtown Bixby,
Mhm.
and tell me a little bit about how you got to be a therapist. Like, what was it that was like, man, I want to do that. And it was energizing to you. What road brought you here?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been a kind of a crazy winding road.
Yeah.
So the first taste that got me going was just going to therapy myself during some really challenging times in my family. And it's an interesting feeling when you tell your therapist a story and their face goes, "That happened?" And you're like,
What?
I mean, I know I've had some experiences, even growing up and everything that are a little different than others. I didn't think my stories were that wild. But again, with multiple kiddos and some really tough diagnoses, here in these four walls and in my extended family, I wasn't able to find a therapist that like met that real life with me. Like they wouldn't like I didn't feel like I was sitting in a room where someone that was like not judging, got it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or that had experiences in that. So that was my first. I was like, oh my gosh, like maybe that's something I could do. And then, I kind of put that to the side. And then I was listening a couple years later, I was listening to actually a sermon series, and they were talking about doing things like just big things. Like if you could do anything, write it down. And
Yeah.
I ended up writing this whole plan of, again, I had no experience, no knowledge really of like what I would do for parents with, I call them tricky kids. It's those kids that you have that like they're not the ones that you're going to Starbucks and being like, oh my gosh, you're never going to guess what my kid did. It's the ones where you're hiding in the corner and you're calling that one friend and going, so I had to call the cops last night and I'm scared and I don't
Right.
know what to do.
Yes.
So I wrote up that
Yeah.
plan and then again, stuck it on a shelf and then COVID happened.
Hmm.
COVID was the best because it let me separate from the busyness. And I'm sitting
Hmm.
here in front of my computer for hours a day doing my normal job. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I go back to school. First do no
Yeah.
harm. Let's
Yeah.
see where that goes. I need to know what I don't know. So I
Yeah.
applied to one grad school program. If it works, it works. If that's the door, God, if that's the door, God will open it. If that's not, God will shut it. And I got in. So fall of 2020, I started grad school, finished that up just a couple years ago. And then, during my internship and everything, I was like, no, I actually like really love being in the room with people or across the
Yeah.
screen from people. I do a lot of telehealth too because you can't always get away from your house.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of how I got where I am, and then again, real life experiences just keep adding on, and I just hope that that makes it again a little bit more connecting for the person that's the person or the family that I'm with.
I hear you loud and clear, and I think that there is an ethic out there, or an ethic, maybe that's not the right word, a vibe, a thing that's kind of like therapists are the ones that have the problems, and I want to say, yeah, human beings, and like there's these motivations that tend to inspire us, be in our families, for our own personal lives because of our history, and then this thing rises up inside of many of us who are helpers, which is like, I need to make a difference.
Mhm.
I need to help.
Yeah.
And I hear you saying that, and that's what we experienced with you. So talk to me a little bit about Okay, so we've got this new office in downtown Bixby, not
Hmm.
far from the office where you have another job as well, working Chamber
Hmm.
of Commerce. And um, can you hear Hank barking?
A little bit, not
A
bad,
little bit. Well,
not
okay,
bad.
great. We're gonna leave it all in. So we got this new office. You're starting to see some
Mhm.
people and do some stuff down there. And like, who are the people that you're like? And as time goes on, this like group of people that you work with might narrow a bit. But like
Mhm.
right now, are you seeing kids? Are you seeing adults? Are you doing what kind of works kind of the stuff that you're giving energy to right now?
Yeah, absolutely. The majority of my clients right now are adults. I do have a few kiddos as young as 8, and
Mhm.
some adolescents, kind of some preteens and some high schoolers. And right now, like just my favorite people are the ones that they don't they just need a place where it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing, and just helping them like normalize that. But
Mhm.
also, I think with adults, it's hard because you have to kind of like break down those walls. They're like, no, I'm supposed to know this. I'm supposed to be able to do it. Or they
Yeah.
flip it around and think that like you're the therapist, you're going to fix me. And
Yeah.
so helping them shift around, or getting to start when they're younger and being like, I don't fix anything. Like I said, I'll be
Yeah.
here and let's hold this together. And I can maybe even, repeat back what you're saying and be like, but what I heard here was, I heard hope. I heard excitement, or like I heard that was
Mhm.
really tough. Um, Getting to walk through those things. But also, even again with those kiddos, is talking to the adults that are with them and being like, hey, like, yes, we're gonna focus on this right here, like this is our number one focus, and we're gonna get through this together. But like, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, grown up, you're this wasn't in the book. Like, you're not
Mhm.
supposed to know everything. So like,
Yeah.
we're a team. Like, we're going to figure this out together. And there's no judgment if you're like, I don't know what to do when they do this. Like,
Yeah.
great. Let's sit down to like, let's all 3 or 4 of us, like, let's figure out what works.
I
And
appreciate
just
Crystal. I
Yeah.
appreciate that so much. I mean, like, they need a collaborator, right? I mean,
Mhm.
like people. I mean, that's how I felt as a parent. I need someone to like come beside me and help ask me questions that are going to help, where I'm going to feel a little more confidence and feel not just more informed, but create some meaning. And okay, now I can think I know I can do the next thing. But like having that collaborator, that helper, is such a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'd love to see that narrow. Probably, if I could put out a call for like, hey, if you fit the again, like those parents of tricky kids, where like,
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
work in the room is, again, I know like with me, and again, and my friends that are around me that were in this world, like sometimes you have to be like, I don't like this. I
Right.
love them more than anything. I don't like this, and I don't know what to do. And that's going to be, it's, are you keeping, like, is everybody safe? Okay. Are you safe? Do you know how to keep yourself safe? What are your steps if one or more people in the house, like, if that changes? Like, those
Mhm.
plans are going to look different in every family, and with every, whether it's a diagnosis or a crisis, where things just aren't, they're not flowing like we think they should be. And that man, and just that again, that education, and that like, hey, you're not the only one out there like this, because it's so those kinds of things can be so isolating. um and then same thing if you're like, if someone in your family is dealing with addiction or a terminal illness or something, those helpers are typically the ones that get put off last, because they have another thing they have to focus on. So again,
Yeah.
just holding space for those helpers, and letting them know that it's like, I'm probably not if you're looking for 3 steps in a self-care plan, I'm probably not your girl.
Yeah.
But if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, and again, like, if it's going to work, like, it's always going to be changing and everything too. But it's okay for it not to have a pretty bow on the end of it at the end of the day, every day.
I really appreciate that. Yeah. Talk to me about what you do for fun. You take work trips for fun? Is that what you do?
I
I
do.
don't.
I actually, I love to travel. If I'm
Okay.
traveling for work, I'll still find fun. I love to explore anything. So different downtowns. I occasionally like to hike. I don't find a lot of free time, but I find me like, again, someplace with a nice chair in the sun, whether it's 75 degrees or 105 degrees, and that's probably where I'm going to be. We have a sailboat, so we like to get our sailboat out when the weather's nice. Um, and Also, I like to do jujitsu. That is really fun for me. So
Is that in Bixby proper, or do you go where no one will know you if you're gonna
it's
go
that well, it's
kick people's tails?
yeah, it's in South Tulsa, so it's
Okay.
over. I go to Jedi Jiu Jitsu, and it's in
All right.
the great thing about being the schedules are pretty full over here with, again, my regular full-time job, and then
Yeah.
doing this and the family and everything. But for that 1 or 2 hours a week, I'm not thinking about anything else than just making sure I don't get into a chokehold.
That's awesome. The
So
guy that supervised me when I was doing candidacy, he was like a regular teacher at San Sue of Tulsa, and so like we talked about this a lot. I never did it, and so I'm riding my bike, so I'll have to live vicariously through
yeah,
your your violence. I just want to be
yeah,
very straight up. So
it's not violent. It's not
it's kind of
violent.
scary.
It's
Okay.
no, no. It's the coolest thing I think about it is, like, especially for, like, with me, I'm not out there trying to hurt anybody.
Oh, I know
But
that.
you do have the people, and even this, it's like, hey, this is not you're not going to necessarily win if you're the strongest. You're not necessarily going to win if you're the biggest. You have to be strategic and stay very in the moment and mindful about what you're doing, like, and be like, okay, they did this, now I need to go here. And it's more like strength isn't always going to get you if you get into, like, it's all about leverage. Because if someone gets your arm in
I
the
love
wrong
that.
position, like, you can be as strong as possible, but you're not getting out of it without damaging yourself.
Well, getting to know you a little bit better over the last few months, the whole strategery piece, like I can tell, I know that that's got to energize you like crazy. So
Yeah,
that's super
it
cool.
does.
Um, well, all right. So when are you seeing folks
Hmm.
normally? And
Hmm.
you're going to be seeing people downtown Bixby or on
Hmm.
telehealth, those two spaces.
Correct.
You're taking self-pay, you're taking sooner care, various iterations of
Hmm.
sooner care right now
Hmm.
as you're finishing up your hours. But we can self-pay like crazy. Like a lot of times we have people who are like, well, I need Blue Cross. And we're like, oh, our therapists that take Blue Cross are full. So this opens up an option of folks that are in your position, which are like, you'll do awesome, but we can do more of like a reduced rate self-pay, that kind of thing for folks. So when are you typically seeing people, at least during this season of life,
Hmm.
down in downtown Bixby?
Yeah, typically Wednesday nights, every other Thursday, and then most Fridays.
Great. Okay. Well, friends of Christine Counseling and people who we don't know yet, but are now getting to know, if you want to get a hold of Krystal and get on her list, call our office, 918-760-5243, or you can email info at Christine Counseling. And we want to help. Krystal, thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris.
Awesome. Okay, we're
All right.
out.
Woo!
And bleh.